In this video, I'm going to walk through 4 key maintenance items that will prevent issues arising in the future. These items are items we get a lot of our clients to do at their investment properties to make sure we can increase the longevity and retain as much value as possible in their asset. Before we get into that, a little bit about me. I manage hundreds of properties on a daily basis with the help of a fantastic team. Born and raised in Emerald in Queensland, been a local since day one. I entered the real estate industry at 18 years old. I had the goal to get into sales. However, I started in property management and I never looked back. So, with that out of the road, let's look at the first one. Air conditioning. Where we are situated in the properties that we manage in Emerald, Queensland, it is quite hot, probably 60 to 70% of the year. You're talking 38 degrees, 35 to 40 degrees in general. So if there's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and there's a parent, then there's 2 children and 1 teenager, all with different rooms and with a living room, it means you're going to have those aircon running. If it's a split system or ducted, doesn't matter. Those aircons are going to be running non-stop for 70% of the year. So it's important that these aircons are serviced each year. Otherwise, you're going to have reduced efficiency. The aircons are going to have to be working harder. You're going to have poorer air quality, which also affects the tenant. And I have seen the back of the aircon completely caked with mold. It's not a good sight. You want to make sure you look after your tenants. Now, the standard cost that we pay in our region is $150 to $200, including GST per aircon. Of course, I do know in the cities it can be cheaper than that. In rural areas, the maintenance items in general and tradespeople tend to be more expensive. Now, something to consider that, for example, you do have an aircon break. There may not be parts available to fix that specific brand. For example, Kelvinators in general. We've had old Kelvinators 15 years old in properties, and they all broke down in a 6-month period. Now, any electrician we had in town could not repair those aircons because those parts did not even exist anymore. Those parts were not even made. So we had to get those aircons completely replaced. And if you think about it, that is the best long-term solution. Instead of trying to pull apart each of the aircons and possibly regas them, replace them, and you have another 10 to 15 years for the aircon. Now, if the aircon does need to be installed, the cheapest brand is not always the best option. So from what I hear from electricians, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, Fujitsu, then you have Hitachi is the middle of the range. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst. The reason why you don't purchase cheap aircons is because they are known to break a few years after. They obviously have around 5 years warranty, but long-term thinking, they're not going to be as effective, not made to a higher quality, and you're probably going to be up for an aircon a bit sooner than you would like. The second one is general wear and tear. This is just the cost of having assets. Some of the most common general wear and tear items we see, especially on routines, is the deterioration of grout, silicone, door handles coming loose, and garage doors seizing or being difficult to open and close. So regarding the silicone and grout, over time, those, especially in the shower area, those areas will deteriorate. Now, if you leave that and don't fix and address the issue, water will get through the tiles and cause damage to behind the tiles, which means you will have mold, water damage to the walls. It is not something you want to deal with, and it's going to cost thousands to fix. So for us, the cost to re-silicone one shower area is $100. That is a insane ROI and one of the most common things that I get clients to do so that they don't have this nasty surprise 12 months later. Now, garage doors are actually something that I find many people overlook. In Emerald, we do struggle to find quality garage door specialists. We only really have 1 or 2 we work with. And I've seen it happen where we've recommended a garage door to be serviced, then the owner has said, no, look, right now I don't really want to pay for that, and we've left it at that. Now, they knew that it wasn't serviced for at least 5 years. If a tenant has been in the property the entire year, you should probably be getting the garage door serviced once every 12 months. Now, the garage door seized in this instance, that meant the tenant could not drive the car out. Now, the frustrating thing here, which costs more for the owner, is that it occurred over the weekend. Now, the tenant couldn't get the car out the entire weekend, so they called the emergency number. We had to arrange a technician to attend after hours because it was an emergency. They couldn't use their car and get around. What that meant is that the technician charged after hours hourly rate, which is 2-3x more than their standard hour. So, something to remember is to keep track of when the garage door was last serviced, and maybe even put a calendar invite, calendar reminder 12 months from now, and that will make sure your garage doors are always serviced, and in essence it will also increase your longevity and how long you get out of a garage door as well. The next one is roof, gutters and trees. So blocked gutters are easily overlooked because they're out of sight. Us as property managers, we inspect the property as much as we can, but we do not bring ladders to check all the gutters at every single property. So you should book it in. They need to be cleaned or at least checked on a regular basis. If you have a plumber out, make sure, just ask them to quickly check the gutters. If you have a handyman out, they can do the exact same thing. Now, the catch is here. If the property has numerous trees overhanging that property or around the property in general, you need to make sure you get those gutters cleaned on a regular basis. My preference, and my honest preference, is to completely just cut the tree and then clean the gutters and not worry about cleaning the gutters for a lot longer. Now, with the trees, if you do want to leave the trees because they increase the attraction of the property, I get it, sometimes it does work. You're going to be having two costs on a regular basis. One, trimming the trees so that the tree branches are not overhanging properties, leaking sap onto roofs and causing potential damage by branches falling on the roofs. And number two, you're going to have to get the gutters cleaned on a regular basis. So there's so many costs, and if you compare that over 5 years to just one large cost of cutting down the tree and cleaning the gutters once, then the best option long term is to cut down the tree. And rusted roofs are terrible. I had a situation just the other day where it's quite an old property, and the plumber inspected the roof because there was a leak when the recent rain happened, and the roof was quite rusted. And then this is going to lead to water damage and mold. So again, if a plumber's out, see if they can do a roof inspection as well, and maybe get, if it isn't super old property, maybe get the roof to be checked every 12 months. You may be able to get a few areas patched up to just increase that, to just delay replacing that roof, to make sure you have enough funds to replace that roof. Number 4 and final is plumbing. Now, dripping taps, slow toilet leaks, they always start out as minor maintenance items, but if they are left unattended because it is classified as minor, then you're going to have water damage to cabinetry, you have permanent staining, and not to mention, if that water damage does occur, I highly doubt your insurer is going to cover that. So get those dripping taps and slow toilet leaks fixed sooner, so you can just fix it, tenant's happy, and no more concerns. Then, electric hot water systems. These are always some of the most frustrating maintenance that comes up for investors because they are expensive to replace. They fail with very little warning. There's no indicator on a hot water system. The best we can do is keep an eye out for any issues such as rust-colored water or fluctuating temperature. If you see those work orders come through, keep in mind that you may have a hot water system replacement coming up. And then keep record of the hot water system. Most hot water systems have a lifespan of 10 or so years. If your current hot water system is 15 years down the track, then that's fantastic. But most have 10. So keep that date somewhere, and maybe even put when it is due to expire in your calendar. A quick tip: if your property has a gas hot water system, make sure you, as the owner and your property manager, has a copy of the gas certificate. If you just purchase a property, you want to make sure you can get that gas compliance certificate in the settlement of the property. That will just save a few $100s getting a compliance certificate when the property is transferred to your name. Now, the main key here on making sure you have a gas certificate is if the tenant does not have a copy of the gas certificate, he can't purchase bottles. So if they run out on the weekend and it's winter, they can't get gas bottles. They can probably hook up their barbecue bottle for the time being, but it's not ideal and it does not create a seamless experience for the tenant. So those items that I mentioned, which if we jump back a little bit, air conditioning, general wear and tear, deterioration of grout and silicone, roof, gutters and trees, making sure you remove any trees around the property, and plumbing items. If you keep on top of those and spend a little bit now to save spending a lot later on, that will be the best long-term cost-effective solution. You may have additional costs right now, so it may not look good right now, but if you're in the game on keeping your property assets in good condition for a long period of time, then making sure you do these preventative items is a must.